Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, or morning, wherever you are. Welcome to our next episode of the Chandlers Cottage calendar bake demo for February. I hope you're all really well. It's been a very frantic morning here, getting things ready for the shop, for many other things at the moment, and a lot of preserving. So I'm a little bit later than I wanted to be, of course. I'm a day late now, I'm a few hours late, but I hope you'll bear with me. I went to clean up the kitchen about half an hour ago and put everything out of the way so it had that lovely professional, minimalised look. And then I thought, you know what? I'm not going to do that to start. I'd like to show you what I've been up to first, because it's all part of our journey since we moved to the country. So just a little sneak peek at what we're actually doing, if that's okay with you. This morning, cucumbers and zucchinis from the garden. So they're here to put into preserves. So that's all happening at the moment. And then we are just on the end of our peach preservation week. So I've got some peaches that have been through my fowlers. I get a big kick out of filling my jars. I will confess, I find it really therapeutic, like a lot of the sewing techniques that we do, maybe English paper piecing, something like that. And I just get so much joy out of creating a really pretty jar. But these big jars, these are being done. These are big 31s, and these are being done to put away, no sugar or anything in them, and they will be used later on for cakes, for fruit purees and things when we start to have functions here at Chandlers Cottage, high teas, whatever we're doing, maybe a chocolate almond cake with a peach compote, or maybe the peaches will be incorporated into a really lovely dense butter sponge, something like that I've got in my head. So they will be used for that later on, whereas you'll also get smaller jars like this one. If you're up close, you would actually see the syrup in these is a lot darker in colour, and that's because I know this one's got amaretto in it. So this is more of a family Sunday wicked dessert with fresh cream or with a lovely vanilla bean ice cream or something like that. So they've been done. The plums were before that, so also we've got plums, and yeah, they're also ready to use. I was thinking for next month, when we do our Elka's crumble cake for March, instead of the cherries, maybe we'll do something with a sugared spice stewed plum, just to give it a little bit of a different try. And again, I've got some smaller jars with sugar ready for the family. And then I'm working on a lot of our, am I going to call it a collection? I don't know. All the things that we want to do that we'll be able to sell at Chandlers Cottage. So this is where the food scientist of the past with me clashes with the cook, because I love this bit because I get to play with sugar levels, acidity levels, all those sorts of things to get the best product that we can, the heat treatment, everything. I don't do my fowlers inside. I've actually got a large outdoor kitchen area for that sort of big chunky preserving in the big fowlers preserving kits. That happens out there, and then all the finer stuff happens in here. So this is my little collection. We're going to have a collection of preserve pots. So we've got, this is steeping at the moment. These are our homegrown cucumbers with onions, peppercorns, and a ginger brine. So that's going to go really well with fish and Asian dishes. Apricot chutney, complete. This recipe is probably my favourite so far this year. This is just looks like a normal jam, and it is, except it's plum infused with cinnamon and port. And if you're in a quilter's life, you've got that recipe now. And this is a game changer for me. And it's absolutely gorgeous. Ice cream, scones, or anything. But I think it's got more uses than your average jam. So that one I'm happy with. Then we've got, you know, classic, really nice curried zucchini pickles. So I've got some here. And then there's things like this. So this is the R&D department. This is research development, because a pickle takes a while to mature and develop. I was going to say like a good bottle of wine, but maybe not that long. But it does take a couple of months to reach its peak. So this sits in my fridge because we've still got a couple of months to our open day, and I check it every now and then. It's my responsibility, but I check it every now and then just to check on how it's going. It's going fine. It's still not quite there. The main thing for me, I know it will get there. I want to know how long it takes to get there, because then I know when it's ready for us to sell. So that's all happening here. And we've got peaches. These are the rest of my peaches over here. They're going into an experimental chutney today. I'm doing mango and peach port chutney. So that's where they're going. And this big guy here, I've got a great big beautiful red cabbage I bought at the farmer's market last weekend. Mum used to make the best red cabbage pickles. And of course that recipe, we're not quite sure where it is. So she's going to do a little bit of research for me. I'm going to do a little bit of research. And then, well no, again, this guy will get split up and maybe done up in 4 different types of brine this weekend. And we'll wait and see which one's perfect to add to our collection. So that's why there's so much stuff. There's saucepans up the back. Later this afternoon, I'm picking up my first basket of beautiful, beautiful locally grown tomatoes. So passata this weekend, so the big pot for blanching. And then the smaller one, I've got the brine that those zucchinis and cucumbers are going to go in. So there's just stuff everywhere. So I do apologise in a way, but at least you know what we're up to. And now that our kitchen's certified, of course, when we're cooking all those sort of things, I'm not standing here in my own gear, in my own clothes as it is. There's coats, there's hairnets, there's gloves, all of that, when we're actually manufacturing things that we know manufacturing. See, there's the old food scientist. When I'm cooking things that I know that we're going to sell. And we work with the product that's all around us on our place and our neighbours and local. So it's kind of like you got to call out, the peaches are ready, okay, and then the nectarines are ready, and then we find out there's a local farm with beautiful big wild blackberries, and we're in the car and we're off. Our apples will be ready, and I'm doing the blackberries kind of every couple of days at the moment. I can see out the window the eastern rosellas on my apple tree, so we'll be having a stern word after I've had a chat with you. And it's time to net the apples by the look of it, because they've decided it's time to eat them. Yes, about that later. So, but we've got apples here, we've got apples at local farms, and then there's figs. I know where they're coming from. I know where the kumquats are going to come from, and that sort of, there's just stuff everywhere. So it's a really, really busy time of year, and it's our first year. So we are learning as we go over what we're going to source where, and roughly when. It changes. Each year is a really strange summer, but there's a lot of fun to be had, and we're really looking forward to sharing more of it with you this year. So with that in mind, time to talk about our recipe for February. Completely changing it over. I popped this recipe for our Chinese egg sponge cakes in February because for our Australian quilters, you'll be able to serve them up the way I first had them in Beijing, which was with a big platter of fresh, kind of tropical, summer seasonal fruit. And the Chinese are not big on, let me get rid of all this, really sweet desserts. Japanese aren't either, for that notion. But when I had this amazing big amazing traditional Chinese meal, traditional to that region around Beijing, which was like nothing I'd ever had here in Australia, and pretty much not to this day, and learnt so much with my taste buds and senses and everything through this amazing big buffet of incredible food. At the end of it, there was dessert, but what it was these little sponge cakes served up with the fresh fruit. So they're not really sweet. So this is like, for us, I suppose, a Victorian egg sponge, but they're made in these beautiful little wrapped morsels, traditionally served high and skinny like these, with fresh fruit on the side. And it was perfect to have at the end of the meal. If we'd been served up a really sweet dessert, I would have been quite ill in the taxi on the way back to the hotel. But this, it was like the sponge settled all the spices in my stomach, and the tropical fresh fruit cleansed my palate after all the amazing hot, sweet, sour sensations that had hit my mouth. And I love them. Then lovely, small, compact little morsels as well. So they're also great to just serve up as almost like a finger food. And if you pop them in these little wrappers, you can drizzle stuff over the top and add that sweetness that we like. So you can do that. But I also love to just serve them up like portable to give out, and I'll cut a slit in the top and I'll put that little sliver of pineapple or perhaps a pitted cherry or something inside for that little sweet spot of a pop afterwards. I've got to eat one, sorry. I love them. So the recipe's going to make you a dozen. I did 6. Okay, so there's already another one missing. I did 6 in my timbale tin to show you how it looks, which are these ones. And I've got the next 10 ready to show you. I'm going to put those over there so I don't eat them. So this is what I call a timbale tin. I use this for doing lots of savoury dishes. So if I do a moulded, what's a good example? A moulded smoked salmon with a horseradish avocado mousse in the middle. I will use them as a high tin for quiches as well. And now I've got these little wrappers, which I love. These make the most gorgeous little high frittatas and quiches as well. I have cheekily, these went out with our box. These go out with our boxed kits of the calendar. And so you get one of these. But I bought extras and I have popped them on the website today. So we've started a new section. It's just called House and Garden, and it's just got one thing in it, but it will grow. There's a whole heap of stuff I'm going to slowly collect up to pop in there for us. So when you are buying your fabric, your threads, your pins, whatever else you're doing, you go, oh yeah, and I need muffin liners. So we've got those if you want to get them. But they're really good because they're the folded ones, and these are the traditional ones if you want to be super authentic. But they also work equally well in a standard muffin tin if you've got one. So there you are. And the thing about, the benefit to doing them in a standard muffin tin, excuse me, I'm going to the glass cupboard, is that you can pop a little indent in the top because they're wider and slightly flatter. I've just grabbed a shot glass to show you. So you get these, just a little push down. You see that? Now I've got a little space in here, and that space is saying to me, please add jam and cream. So if you want to do that, and just push it down a bit, and then you can add whatever you like in here. You might like to just put some little discs of fresh fruit, maybe a strawberry cut in half, and a little bit of icing sugar. But because they're lovely and soft and spongy, you can just do that, put it in. I'm going to confess to you, when I made these, when I was developing the recipe, I also had in the fridge my fresh batch of fruit mince to make fruit mince pies. I'm telling you, it was really, really good. I actually got this and I went and I put the fruit mince on with a little bit of cream. It was, I don't know why, but it was a marriage made in heaven. So just, you've got a few options that you can use them for. I'm making sweet onion jam this weekend, and I'm going to have to try that too because they're not sweet, so you maybe can go sweet savoury on top as well. I know you'll have fun with it. You'll try them out. I know you will. Okay, so I'm going to get my, let's get the actual recipe out and have a look. So the pictures here, so you've got your lovely long Chinese fan table runner. You can make it as a banner. I know a lot of you have already done it, and they're hanging as banners, which is absolutely wonderful, or used individually on cushions, placemats, whatever you want to do, as per the make demo on YouTube. The photo really doesn't do these guys justice today, and that I needed to get a long run of the table runner, and then I had this little plate with all the fresh fruit, and it didn't quite work for me. And I have already solved it for 2025. I've got an exciting, I think it's exciting to me, but an exciting new layout, so that won't happen again. I've solved the issue, but you don't really get a good photo. So when you've made yours, take a photo of yours and stick it in your calendar, because yours will look better than my photo does. All right, let's go past the calendar. Oh, there's March, looking forward to March. And then we'll get down to our recipes. Okay, I hope you all enjoyed your Mulva muffins from last month, and now we're on to our egg sponge cakes. So I always like to read the recipe when I'm with you, because then I don't get carried away and miss a step. All right, first thing you're going to do is grab 4 eggs, and you're going to cringe and go, 4 eggs, Lisa? I know, but look, what I'm going to say is add it to your repertoire of things to do to use up eggs. So besides the pavlovas, besides the quiches and all of that, this is another lovely little recipe. It's going to use 4 eggs if you think it's time to use your eggs up. I have 3 laid for me on a daily basis, so I my egg stash fluctuates quite a lot, and we will be adding 9 more girls to our 3 very soon, because we're going to be selling our eggs as well at open day. So my girls are going to get a rude shock pretty soon. There's going to be new chook chicks on the block. But yes, I've got, look, see, here's some of my babies. There's no quality control here. This one's got a little dirt mark on it. They're all come out different. Someone's obviously didn't eat as much protein or something as everybody else this week, because hers are lighter. But yes, I have eggs here, but it's a great recipe to use them up as well. And it is called an egg sponge, so of course it's going to need a fair bit of egg. Before you separate out completely your eggs in a hurry to do them, let's just go back to home ec at high school for a minute, because Mr. Stubbs at Croydon High always taught me to value your eggs, and therefore when you are separating them, do them in separate bowls first, because we're going to need the egg whites as well as the egg yolks. And of course we can't whip those egg whites if they've got any of the yolk in them. The protein doesn't combine with the fat well from the yolk, and it's not going to do its thing. So I worked in a French restaurant from the age of about 14. I'm sure the legal age was 14 3/4, so maybe 14 3/4, 15. And one of the first things I observed in the kitchen, of course, was how they effectively separated their eggs. And one of those chefs is I'm still really good friends with, and he taught me how to do this. And a lot of people don't like handling eggs. I see this egg. Let's go like that. Don't like handling eggs, but this was the way that I was taught to separate in my fingers, because John said, you can just do this, you can just roll, and then you will get all of that yolk separated from the egg. And then I'll pop this in here for now. Now I would have been able to put that straight in here if I needed another yolk, but I don't. So I'm going to keep that separate. Then this egg white would go into my bowl that I'm going to use to whip them, and then I'd use this bowl again to separate. And that way, if I get to my 4th egg and I happen to get yolk in that egg white, I've only spilled 1 egg. And that can go in this weekend's quiche batch, which is, what am I doing this weekend? Oh, I've got 2 beautiful big leeks in there that I've bought, and I've got some homemade chicken stock. So I'm going to simmer, poach big thick slices of the leek in the chicken stock with some Dijon mustard and some pepper and a little bit of white wine, and get them all to soak up all that flavour. And then I'm just going to make little individual quiches and pop one of those in each of the little quiche cases and fill it up. And then they're going to go in the freezer for something that we've got on next weekend. But yes, so these, because I don't need them for this recipe, that's where these are going to go. But just keep that in mind. And also when you're putting your egg whites, just go back to home ec and remember clean bowl, dry bowl, clean beaters, dry beaters. And for me, if I'm doing lots of different things and I need the beaters again, I can get impatient, I can take shortcuts, and I get myself in trouble. Just because you will it to behave doesn't mean that it will. So quick ways to do it for me, I'll go to the bathroom and I'll grab the hairdryer to dry off my bowl and my beaters, which is really good because you get that whole airflow around the beaters and you're not missing bits if you're just drying them with your tea towel in a hurry. And the same with the bowl. Or if the oven is hot and there's nothing in there, I'll put them in the oven and I will count to 10, and it just evaporates off any leftover moisture. Get them out, give them a bit of a shake so they're at room temperature and you're ready to go. I'm just going to pop these. How cute does that look? Look. I could also just put some bacon around that with a bit of tomato, a bit of feta and a bit of herb and stick it in the oven if that dish was actually greased before I did that. Never mind, we'll talk about that another day. I'll pop that out of the way. All right, so here are my 4 egg yolks in here. What we're going to do first is add 1.5 tablespoons of sugar. So you've got 4.5 in the recipe, 1.5 is going to go in here, and the other 3 you'll use to make your meringue. Now I've made my meringue up ready so that you don't have to sit there to all that white noise and put up with me beating it. So we'll get to that in a minute. So that's in here, and you're going to give it a whisk. So my disclaimer at this stage again about my eggs, it looks like I have hit my eggs with a heap of food colouring. I'm sorry, it's just my girls, because they're out in the garden, they're eating worms. I feed them a lot of protein as well, so I get beautiful eggs and lovely thick, rich egg whites, which are great for cooking with and making up aerated meringue like we're doing today. So if you look at this and go, mine don't look like this, it'll just because your chooks are not in my garden. So if you've got home chookies, you know what I'm talking about. So you just keep doing this, until it starts to lighten off and you start to get some lovely air bubbles in it. That'll probably do it for me, like that. Okay, I'll do this bit. Now, what we need to do is make up a separate little mixture as well. In a separate jug or in a separate bowl. I'm going to use a bowl. And the reason we do this separately first is the 3 ingredients we're mixing together are not friends. They don't get along. And so I need them to combine them separately first and then pop them in with this mixture. So we're doing 2 tablespoons, 2 tablespoons of oil. I'll pop that in there. And then 2 tablespoons of milk. I'll just grab that out of the fridge. Go. While I remember, just in case I forget later, these really are best fresh. I'm not going to deny it. They're a sponge. They're best fresh. But if you've got them left over the next day, bread and butter pudding, perfect. Or perhaps a little bit of tiramisu happening, perfect for that as well. So because they are so aerated, they are brilliant at absorbing moisture. So if you want to do a tiramisu and soak them like you do with any recipes, like you do with a panettone or anything, and bread and butter pudding, anything like that, really good. I don't think there's going to be any left over though. My grandmother always taught me, and my mother after, that you didn't use a teaspoon to measure your vanilla. You just used the lid. And I've never actually measured to see if that is true, but that's always what I've done, so I'm doing it today. And then grab a spoon and give it a mix. And you can see it's not very pretty. The oil and the milk and the vanilla, they're really not friends. It looks like a badly emulsified salad dressing, but it is right. So once you've done that, then you're just going to whisk that in to your egg yolk mixture, like that. And that's all in. I'm really glad my camera's set up today so you can't see how many dirty dishes there are in my sink, because I did a quick clean up to do the video and they're all hiding from preserves earlier. Okay, so you see that's nice and frothy now, and it's where it should be. All right, so next we're going to pop in our sifted flour and some baking powder. You'll get to this point in the recipe, you'll go, I have to weigh it. Why do I have weights instead of cups and quarters? Whenever I've come across a traditional recipe, particularly an Asian one, I will say, for baked goods, it is 9 times out of 10, it's because there is no metric equivalent. And I have been doing I've been doing an online baking course at the moment. I'm observing one. I will come back and actually do it myself in a couple of weeks, but I'm watching first. And bakers love precision weighing because then there's no variation, and I'm taking that on board. So I think as time develops, a lot of my recipes in future, rather than using metric measurements, some of them where there's a lot of dried ingredients, I will go to weighing because it is just a lot more accurate. Not when you're doing something with 4 cups of something in it, no. But when you are doing something here where there's not a lot, this is only 75 grams of flour, it is just a really good way to measure out the right amount any time. And I do know a lot of my country cook friends, they weigh all of their ingredients for their award-winning sponge cakes rather than using a metric cup. Okay, so that's that. What else do I need? Baking powder. 1/4 teaspoon. I've got to mix and match measuring spoons out today because I've got 2 or 3 sets. I can't find all of one set, so you've got a bit of a mix. Okay, that's that. And we're going to sift this in. Now you can still use your whisk to pop this in because we've given the flour a good sift to give it a little bit of aeration and get any lumps out and mix the baking powder in. But it's not really about aeration yet. That's where the meringue champions it. So I really want to get the lumps, any lumps from this flour out. So we'll give this a nice little whirl. Make sure it's all nicely mixed together. It's just gorgeous and glossy at this stage. And it is ready to receive the meringue. That's so cool. All right, so this is where you're going to go off and beat up your egg whites. Remember what I said, nice, clean, dry bowl. I'm telling you guys how to, excuse the pun, suck eggs. But if you haven't done that sort of thing for a while, it'd be important to remember. I did these just before I got here because if you leave them too long, they'll start separating out again. And this is what we get. So if you've got a big, I don't know, KitchenAid, Sunbeam, whatever, Mixmaster that you use with the egg whisk and everything, all great, but do not set and forget because this time you're going to whip your 4 egg whites with, I think it's only 1/4 teaspoon, 1/2 teaspoon of cream of tartare first. You don't want to leave it for too long because you want to wait until they're just starting to form into a really nice soft peak. Then you're going to add in your caster sugar, those 3 tablespoons slowly, and then you don't want it into a really stiff meringue like the one I would make for a pavlova or to go on top of the lemon meringue pie or one of those things. No, you just want them nice and soft because we need to fold it through this egg mixture. And you and I both know when a recipe calls for caster sugar, half the time it doesn't really need to be, except if it's got a meringue involved, because you really want that finer grain of sugar so that it dissolves quickly into the meringue. And I always do what I was taught when it's ready. I will rub it between my fingers and check that it's nice and smooth, so I know that all of the sugar's been incorporated and broken down into the meringue. All right, so the recipe asks you, we do not need this whisk anymore, get rid of that. The recipe suggests that you fold in, who's put here? You fold in 1/4 of it first. And that first 1/4 that you're going to fold in is really to start breaking down the egg yolk mixture so that it is ready to receive the rest of it. So if you are ever in that situation and the recipe doesn't tell you to, if you're adding a big amount of whipped egg whites into a small amount of a thicker mixture, then don't do it all in one hit. Do this first because then you just slowly break it up and aerate it out with the meringue. Wipe that down. Okay, and then we'll go back and with what we've got left, we'll add in half of that. So you can see this meringue is not super stiff. It's just lovely big clouds. There you go. Okay, wipe this down and then we'll fold this in. So where I've said in the recipe to use a large bowl for that first step with the egg yolks, and you go, oh, at least we don't need a bowl that big. This is why, because when we get to this stage, I want you to be able to do lovely big circular strokes to fold in your egg whites. And you can see I'm just scraping the bottom just to make sure we've picked up all the egg yolk. All right, let's pop the rest of this in. There we go. So that's all in there. And then just a twist and a big turn and we are done. I have often stopped and thought, could I add anything in? And I just stopped myself right there because this mixture is so light. If you were to add anything bar a liquid flavouring to it, it would sink straight to the bottom and it would upset this set. So live with the pure original recipe, and then if you want to add anything else like we talked about before, do it to the finished cakes. So that's ready to go in. If you want to, you can use a transfer it carefully into a jug if you want to. I'm going to confess my jugs are all busy in this kitchen with brines and concoctions and potions in my fridge, so I'm just going to use a large spoon for these little ones here. So I'll pour that in there just to give you an idea. Oh, it really does need a jug, doesn't it? Never mind. I'll get away with it. And with these, it says to fill them to 3/4 full. And that really is right to the top of this tip on these folded ones. So I can take it right up level with the tin. Like that. I would even suggest putting it through a funnel, but I don't want to break down all those beautiful air bubbles. Oh, I did put in the instructions to give it just a tap on your bench because as I was going through when I first made them, I found a huge air bubble in the middle. I thought, oh, I don't want you to ruin one by having a large air bubble in there. So I'll just keep filling these because there will be people in my life later today who will be very happy to receive one of these, I'm sure. And as I said, this will make 12. So I'll do 6 in this tin. I might go back and do another 6 in my muffin tin. We shall see. But look at it, it's just beautiful and big foam. It's gorgeous. So I'll pack the rest of that off, or fill the rest of that off, I should say, in a minute. When we've said goodbye, sadly, we'll do that. And I'll just go back now to these other ones. Don't leave this too long though. Don't walk off for long like I am. No, you need to stick with it and finish them off while you've got those beautiful air bubbles. Don't let it start to flatten. All right, let's go back and look at these. So I'll pop my recipe book over here. So if I was to serve these up on a plate after a home-cooked, perhaps Chinese meal, I don't know, or in the afternoon with a cup of tea on a really hot day, I'd have these on the plate with some fruit. Now, in my fridge today, I do have some cherries, so I'm just going to pop these out here. Pop them on the plate. I love the idea of having colour because these do look quite plain, so it's nice to have the colour there. And I'll just get out a knife. I've got a big one. Let's get the big one out. And I'll just cut a couple of pieces off here of this pineapple that was also in the fridge, but it's kind of perfect. I won't get too fussy. I'm going to do it the way that I saw it. So they just took out the core like that, and it's not fancy or dainty the way that I saw it served up. It's really just a fingers in job. And it was eat the fruit, break down the sponges a little bit like you would break down a big loaf of Italian bread at the start of a meal. Same thing. So that is all that you need to eat it the traditional way. Then otherwise, you're going to open up a pot of jam, get out the cream, and have a little bit more fun with them and use them like a traditional sponge cake. There you go. Yum, yum, yum. My kitchen smells great, and I'm a bit happy now that I have something to offer up to Susie, who's out in the shed doing a lot of cutting at the moment towards the Chandlers Cottage Advent calendar for this year. We finished the orders off this morning, and we're very excitedly starting to kind of be like a Santa's workshop towards this year's boxes. So I can peace offering to her while she's doing lots of volume of cutting, and take her out a cup of tea with a couple of these. So there you go. So I hope you really enjoy them, and thank you very much for joining me in the kitchen today amongst all of the preserving that's going on at the moment. And I really hope you enjoy the recipe, and just, you know, like all of the others, and a little bit like the mulga cakes last month, just stick those away in the back of your head, that they're a really lovely, rather quick thing to make with very basic ingredients that give you a really nice, unique result. And don't forget, these will be on the website if you want to grab some when you're ordering anything else from us. Next month, we're doing Elke's crumble cake, and Elke is my dearest friend in Germany's mum, and she served it up to us when we were there a very long time ago. And it's been a family favourite of ours, so that's what we're doing. So have a look at it when you've got your calendar, or when you get your calendar, and make sure you've got your springform pan ready to go. And if you are in a quilter's life as well, we're going to have a little bit of a play with it and do a few different things with it this month coming up also. Okay, so I look forward to seeing you back here in the kitchen at the start of March. And in the meantime, if you've got any questions, of course, just email me at info@Chandlers Cottage, or you can pop something in the comments. All right, and please do pop a like in for me. I would really appreciate it if you enjoyed it. All right, bye for now, and thanks so much.